of me this week. Planning your week before you start it is very important. You already know what you're going to do on Monday, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. Of course, these things are going to change a lot as you go through the week, but at least you have a roadmap that identifies at least three key things that you will do each of the days. Remember, the most important thing is you eat the largest frog first. Eat the largest frog first. When you tackle the most important task, in the process of tackling it, you find that some of the small things that you had scheduled had already been done or they have already been settled. And this is a very important aspect. Know what are my important things. If you know your important things, the small things sometimes will solve themselves, or you will solve them in the course of solving the bigger thing. One mistake you should never make is getting into the week or into the day without identifying the key things that you want to achieve. You will trap yourself in a game of decision. Every time December, we talked about decisive moments. Anytime that you allow yourself to spend a lot of time in deciding what you want to do, there is a very high probability that you will do the wrong thing or you waste a lot of time deciding on what to do. But when at least you have the predetermined things that you need to do, that's it. The other goal, always focus on your to-do list. Minimize distractions. Minimize distractions. And when we are talking about distractions, is especially at the workplace, people will come with their own problems. And that should be their own problems. I mean, the moment you become so generous at your workplace, you'll be solving other people's problem and your problems will be there. That's important. People will always ask for help. If you don't have boundaries, you'll spend your whole lifetime working on other people's problems and your problems will be there. And when you go to ask for their help, they will always be busy because they are focused on their to-do list. Some people actually have included you in their to-do list so that you help them solve their problems. So if you don't have boundaries and if you don't focus on your to-do list, you will end up focusing on other people's to-do list. If you don't have an agenda for your day, someone else will give you an agenda. And what happens is that agenda is not helping you to achieve your goals and your main thing that you want to do. So let's focus on that as we go into our work today. And allow me to, okay, let me close my WhatsApp first and my emails before I share my screen so that we get into exactly what we talked about. If you remember some of the things that we planned to do today is to make sure that we finalize on our project presentation and making sure that our design is very good. But just before even I go to that, I would like to recognize a few of you who have already sent in their work for review. And I'm always grateful for people who are always doing their job. So we said, don't watch, start doing, start doing, start doing, start doing, start doing. So this gentleman, this is our work from Innocent. Innocent is from Uganda, and he has been doing a fantastic job. I can see these, but clearly, if I look at this point, you have done this hurriedly. So yeah, it looks funny. Looks like there is no proper craft workmanship was done on this section. Like from the look of things, how I'm deciding it. Uh, so I don't know what it is, but I'll take some time to look at it and see what exactly is happening here. But from the look of things, yeah, it's fairly good. It's fairly good. Uh, so that's it. I'm looking at the geometry at this point. This looks good. The vehicle can be able to maneuver. Uh, I would like to know what is exactly the wind at this point, because if we check that, um, okay, 3 meters. That's perfectly good. Uh, all right, fairly good. Um, the culvert is right there, well positioned. Remember, we said that there should be a safety aspect at this point, at the central island for the property. Sometimes we prefer having bollards because remember, this is like an additional lane that you're handing here. And sometimes the authority may not require you to have this uh, because it may encourage a U-turn for most people or for the most of the drivers at this point. So you can introduce either bollards at this point so that you close it so that also even the main traffic does not use it as a place to do unnecessary overtaking and overlapping. Because if they do that, then there's a high possibility that they will cause a collision with the vehicles that are coming from this point, or they will use the deceleration lanes as a point to be able to overtake. Therefore, that is why there is need to have safety barriers here, bollards, and of course restrict this section. It will also improve the safety of the pedestrians who are walking around this section. All right. All right. But I'm worried this angle doesn't look very nice at this point. So the turning may have a difficult here, but that is fine. You can be able to check it. I don't know why you are having two accesses here. I don't know why you're having two accesses here. But anyway, I will just assume that probably you have another road at that section. But generally, this is a good perspective. Ah, this gentleman decided that for him to have a U-turn at this other point, because of the restrictions in the size of island of the central island at this point, he decided to have a jug handle, kind of an intersection here to divert traffic from this point to move it over here, which is a smart move. But then again, it's restricted or it's dependent on the amount of the road reserve that you have here. I like it. It's good to see that you're implementing that. And for example, if I get to take a look at this one, this is 43, a bit below the radius that you expect. For example, I don't know what is your design speed, but of course, yeah, it could, because it's a low speed section, you anticipate this is a very low speed section, then we can be able to say that the design speed is probably something like 40 kilometers per hour, so that it can be able to allow such a small radius. Okay, this is fairly good. But therefore, this means somehow, because this is now a crossing, remember you're introducing some additional conflict points here. This is always the challenge. When you bring another solution, it will always bring a new solution in the intersection. And therefore, it's bringing more of another conflict point and more conflict points here because now it's crossing uh, the entire highway. But the beauty of it is this one can be able to wait until the road is clear. Some points and some instances is such an intersection may require signals or may not require them, depending on the traffic capacity or the traffic volumes that you have within your section. That's good. I like that you're experimenting with new concepts, which is truly, truly, truly amazing. Uh, okay. Remember also when you're designing this section should be a chevron. Chevron is a marking that is showing the direction of traffic. So there will be some arrows that looks like something like this. I don't know whether you've seen this on the road section. They are called chevron markings, so that now the motorist can be able to, they are guided accordingly to know that, this one is guiding them to move all the way to this section so that now it does not become a black spot for the motorists to cause accidents at this point. Remember also it needs to have curb on this edge and this edge to be able to protect this specific section and demarcate it, not to cause accidents at that point. But generally, it's good. It's always good to see you guys experimenting with other concepts. I would like you now to share it out with other people so that you can probably get feedback on what you need to do. This is my only area of concern. Doesn't look like you put some thought, so much thought on it. So please think up through it. Refer to a session where we were reviewing Engineer Samuel Munoru's work, and you will be able to see that this is somehow not very feasible when it comes to the turning of a large truck vehicle. That's my feedback for you. There was another gentleman who sent in his work, but I don't know whether it's up to. There was this other gentleman here. He's calling himself Ernest. Uh, this is Ernest work. So Ernest has done a very good job. The annotation is good. Yes, he has implemented the safety aspects that we talked about, especially for this section. Remember, when you are opening this section, it's not a road section. That is what we were talking about. The culvert is where well aligned, but now the problem is you don't have drainage on this upper side. So the question is, where is this culvert? What is this culvert doing here if you only have drainage on the lower side and you don't have drainage on the upper side? So that's something that you need to think about as you get also to finalize your design. Your design should be complete and continuous. So please take note of that, Ernest, if you are in this very, very session. Also note that it would be economically unfeasible for the developer to continue putting or rather constructing the walkway all around the road section all the way to the end. So sometimes you need to terminate it at some distance here so that also the next developers or the government can be able now to proceed installing the walkways on the other side. There's no developer who is willing to do all of this for like 1.5 kilometers. Unless then, of course, they want to connect it with the U section, with the intersection here or the U-turn here. That is when they can be able to proceed. This is always a topic of debate, especially when it comes to the practical implementation. The radius here of 7.37, this of course allows the small vehicles to be able to turn. Again, I told you this section, you will need a far much wider section here to be able to allow the turning of the large truck vehicles. 3 meters is not sufficient, and I think we saw that depending on the design vehicle that we're using. For this intersection, a small um, the medium the passenger car and the medium trucks can be able to turn, but then when it comes now to larger traffics, maybe a bit of a challenge to turn around this section. I know most of you are asking for the vehicle tracking. The vehicle tracking comes with a license, and I cannot be able to issue the licenses to you guys because they are already fully booked. We don't have any extra slots for the we have already given it to the people who are already in the program, so we don't have extra licenses. You cannot get the vehicle tracking for the crack version. It's too difficult for you to have the vehicle intersection. You need a license for you to access the vehicle tracking. I saw a couple of messages and I decided that I would clarify that during this session right here. Okay, super. I like this. This is a well done design right there. It's appealing. I like the choice of and taste of your colors. And if you've noticed is you only become good when you do this. And I will always repeat, um, You may think that you've known it, you've been listening to it, you picture it in your mind and all of that. It's only until you do it. So I'm encouraging others to do it. Then when it comes to then showing and kind of what you're doing with your drainages, drainages are best shown using broken lines so that we can be able to see them. So please think through that. When it's a solid line, it gives another vibe, so to speak. Yeah, but this is good. I like it. Let me see this other section. Okay, your radius is 6.9 and the same concept. This concept could be very good on paper, but therefore it needs to be tested using the vehicle tracking. So that you can see how, or rather the swept path analysis, so you can be able to see the performance in real sight. But this is amazing. I love it. I like that you guys are getting yourself out there to do stuff. I'm super, super, super proud of you. The same thing is happening to Sam. So these are 3 designs. I'm like, in my 30 days, I'm happy to see that at least 3 people have been able to at least apply these concepts. I'm expecting and hoping many, many more of us can be able to adopt the same mindset to be able to do stuff and not just get to watch them over and over again. So to this effect, I'm going to jump straight to preparing for our presentation, like we earlier said. And one of the things that we're going to use is this specific title block. That is the work that is here for us today. And therefore, how do we approach it? How do we get um, to start our work for presentation? And how do we prepare for this? I know for those of you who have probably completed one of our trainings, we've been working very hard with Captain Kanza to make sure that you get to do your production very well. But even for those of us who have not been able to do it, then we can be able to do it together. Just as a recap, we have 3 sections within a title block. Let's like you can see, we have a section that is going to have the viewport. So this is the section for the viewport where the drawings will be presented. It's important to know that the entire drawing must not necessarily fit in one paper. Therefore, you can show it in more than one sheet of production. Okay. So it's not compulsory that you fit everything in one sheet. You can be able to split it to have different views and different sections. On the right-hand side, we are going to have a section where we have the engineer's notes. We have the projection system, especially this is important when we are dealing with civil works and that have been geo-referenced. Of course, you need to show us what is the projection system, what is the datum, and all of this information. And then over and above that, we are going to have a legend. The legend is going to vary according to your design. For example, if you are using or you're creating a topographic map, survey map, therefore the legend is going to be different from the kind of legend that you're going to represent a civil design for the horizontal structures. Over and above that, we have the bottom one, which is showing the project details. That is showing the project details. And of course, this is going to vary from project to project. So let's get into it. I don't want to use my own design. I can go to this gentleman's design. I think this is Ernest's work, and I can be able to use it to display or to create that specific title block that we have. So the other thing that I wanted to bring is when we are talking about title blocks, the Autodesk has already given us some sample. It has some already existing types or samples or templates for title blocks. So there are people who would prefer to use that for before they get to they can use those templates and then customize them. And then after customizing them, they can be able to use them in their own project. That is one approach. The second one would be, of course, starting your own design from scratch. And therefore, this means you can just be able to design your own template, come up with your own. I think that's easier. It allows you the flexibility and ability to be able to customize and then just have your own preference and taste on that one. So let's get into that. We're going to go to layout. And once we go to layout, remember this one, there are two ways. We were in the model space. So this is where we do the drafting and all of the work. And then after that, you go to the layout. And in the layout, that is specifically where we are going to do our design or sorry, our presentation for the design. This layout has different aspects. It's called the paper space as well. Remember, you can be able to toggle between, if you go at the bottom of your screen where we have the quick tools, you have the ability to switch from model space to paper space. So at the moment, it's showing that we're in the paper space, and this is where now we do our drafting. The red thing here is called this is called a viewport, and therefore this is where we get to select the elements that we can show from the model space. So it zooms, it's an area to view what is already in the model space. But that is something that we don't need for now, so we can be able to delete, and you can always be able to create it using this option where you can say we want to insert a new viewport. I'll show you that in a minute. Now, there's something that I want us to do. For example, I want us to, if you get to look at this table, or rather this contextual ribbon that is at the top of our layout views. The first panel is the layout views. So in the layout views, this is where you can be able to control the viewport, the one that I've deleted. And if you can see, for example, the first icon is to insert a viewport. And this one would mean we want to, we want to go directly to view a specific section of this element. So that is one way of inserting it. And you can see that's how I've done it. And it has already shown that selected section that I have brought in the view here. I'll repeat that again. I can be able to delete the viewport right there. And then in this contextual ribbon, I can say I want to insert a view. Remember, this is where you insert a view directly from or automatically from the design itself. So I would come and say, I want to have a view for this section. Okay, once I select it, I press enter, and this view will directly be projected into my design. So I can be able to specifically show a specific element or a specific section of my design that I want to show here. That is one way. I can be able to delete it one more time. And there is another section where I can be able to create a rectangular viewport. So this one means that I'm just going to highlight it on the viewport, and then it will display the selected rectangle or is going to, project what is now in the model space. I know you're wondering why this one is looking so weird and out of place, but I'm going to take care of that in a moment. Now, the second thing that we need to look at is this viewport can be edited. You can squeeze it, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You can decide even to have it at the top of the section. You see, it's just like a polyline. It's just like a mirror. You switch it out to sections that you want to display. Remember, this section this viewport as a scale can be locked or can be unlocked. So if you go at the last section, there is the lock and the unlock section. So for example, for this one, looks like it's locked. We can be able to unlock it. And if you select unlock, we go to this one, press enter, and this viewport will be unlocked. The other way is if you select the viewport, at the bottom corner, there is an option to lock or unlock it. So when you lock it, it means you cannot modify anything that is inside the viewport. But if you unlock it, then it means we can be able to right click inside the viewport and modify the display that is there. The second thing is the viewport has a scale. So for example, if you select on the viewport, at the bottom next to the lock, we have something that is called the scale of the selected viewport. So the reason as to why our design looks distorted, it's because this scale does not commensurate with the scale that we used in our model space. So for example, if you select the drop down, we can say, for example, 1:1000. And you can see the display has dramatically improved, and we can be able to possibly, see the different elements here. So if we right click here and use the region all, REGN, it refreshes so that now the paper space can be able to adapt to the scale that we have used. And you can see the elements now are being displayed in a better and better way. We can be able to read, we can be able to see everything into detail as it looks. So that is just a play around with the viewport. Remember, if this is not very visible, you can again be able to, you can be able to tweak it, return it back to the paper space, and always use the viewport as a tool to play around with. So for example, the other option is, this one is extremely zoomed. You can right click into the viewport and on double click into the viewport. This means we are working in the viewport, and therefore you can, for example, use the zoom icon, to bring your design into perspective. You can see that we have brought it all into perspective, and it's going to fit into your design right there. And then you escape, and you can be able to click outside the viewport, and you see everything is extremely visible if you zoom out. This is a work that requires you to be a little bit careful and easy and relaxed. Don't just be in a hurry to work with it. It's something also that requires a bit of just playing around with it until you get to master how this works for you. Now, let's go into preparing a complete now, a very new paper space or layout. And I want us to go to, let me delete this one. Remember, you can always delete all of them. You can even delete this other one. This is what we worked with. So we can also delete the second one right there. I want us to use the plus icon. This is now the step-by-step of how you are doing. I was just doing a preview of some of the things that we'll be using. And now I want us to go to the step-by-step process. The first thing is we want to create a new layout. So this one has called itself layout number 2. And once we get to layout number 2, we are going to right-click the layout. And then we want to rename it first. So what do we want? We want plan layout, and then we can call it A3. So probably we are using paper size A3, or if you want to use paper size A1, you can be able to rename it so that it's super clear for you, and then press enter. So at the bottom of the paper space, you can see it's called plan layout A1. The second thing that we would want to do is now to set this paper space, the one that we are having here, to be specifically the size of the A1 paper. So how do we do that? We select the plan layout, right click, and once we right click on this one, we go to page setup manager. So go to page setup manager, and this is now the page setup manager that is displaying on our screen. Remember, this is where also you can be able to modify all of other layouts that you have. And in this case, you can be able to create a new layout as well. You can be able to create a layout from here. But in this case, we want to modify. And once we go to modify, we can, for example, the name here, it's none for now. This is the plot style. We'll be talking about plot style or what is called pen and assignment. If you select on the drop down, there are quite a number of different. So for example, if you have the country keys, if you have the grayscale, monochrome, and all of that, for now we want it to be none. Most importantly is the plotter or the printer. Remember, in this case, we want to generate a PDF, but you can also be able to generate directly to a printer. So this is the printer that is connected to my desktop. But if I wanted it to go all the way to, for example, let me go to AutoCAD. There is something that is called AutoCAD PDF high quality print. That is what I mostly use. And yeah, that is good enough for me. Then after that, we go and select the paper size. Remember, we renamed this to ISO A3. So I can go to ISO full bleed A3. And remember now, in this case, if you go to the bottom right corner, you will see the drawing orientation. There is always the option for portrait or landscape. So this is where you determine how you want it. So for the portrait, you can see this is 420 by 291. If we wanted to have an A1, the A1 is right here, which is 841 by 594. So these are the dimensions. And remember, I always prefer using ISO full bleed. A1, yes, ISO full bleed. It covers the entire space very well. And also the scale is easy to modify. And also when you go to printing, it will fit in very, very, very well. Once we do that, you can be able to preview, for example, your paper space, how it will look like. So this is how the paper space will look like that's the size of the A1 ISO blade. The other one is the quality here. I would want it to be maximum quality. Of course, this is going to impact the plot time. The other one is the drawing orientation. I want it in landscape. If you want to set it as portrait, it will also be a portrait in this case. So after I do that, I can be able to set OK. And then after that, I am going to close it here. And you can see now the paper size has increased. Remember when we were using the other one, it was an A4. And you can see where our viewport was. But now you can see this size has dramatically increased. So let's go down into creating our title block. I'm going to go back to this design and just look at it. So you can see we have 3 sections. We have the section for the notes, we have a section for project details, and then we have a section to display the design. And all above that, we have this whole rectangle that is here. Please note that there is nothing complicated here. It's just a matter of playing around with it's a matter of playing around with polylines. So for example, I can be able to create a rectangle. The other thing that we need to look at is the layers. So we can create a new layer. And once we go to a new layer, we can go call it title block. And then we can choose the color. So for example, we can say we want it to be white, of course. And then we can be able to choose the line type. It's continuous. The other thing is the line width. So we can be able to use a bigger line width, a thicker line width, because we want to have a title block in this case. And then we make it the current layer, and then we can be able to exit at that point. So come back to the rectangle, and we want to demarcate the entire section to have a rectangle all the way to the edges right there. Okay, so that is it. That is our first edge of this one. So for example, we would want it to offset it. You remember we showed just a small offset. This one can be an offset of probably even 25, 0.025, and then we can have it there. Remember, these ones are very small. You don't want to have a very big offset for the section. So after that, we can actually get even to delete the viewport. We don't need it for now. Therefore, we want to demarcate this into 3 sections for our project. And the first section is where we have the project details. So we can select another rectangle. And for example, in this case, we can be able to say we want to have, we want to have it here. And remember, there is a process where there are some templates that have standard dimensions for your title block. So for example, these could be, there are people who would say, I want mine to be at 60 mm, that is in width. Others will say, I want this one. But in this case, you can just decide to give just a section that is good enough to accommodate your notes. So we can decide I want to have my section up to this point. Okay. And then I can make it probably just a little bit bigger. Remember also you need to turn on your author mode to ensure that, so I can make it a little bit bigger. Probably that section is fairly good. That section is fairly good. You just size it because also remember the size of the projects that you'll be working on will vary in size, and you want the display section to be the bigger thing because remember we'll be having the display section here, and we'll also be having another section at the bottom for the so we want to have another section at the bottom here, which is going to display our project details at the bottom right here. So there are instances where people will tell you, I want my title block to be of these specific dimensions. I want it to be this one. And therefore, I don't want to go into that because it can be a little bit confusing for most of us. So I want to assume that we are all working with just a rough picture of what this would look like for us. So this one can terminate to that specific point. Then we also make sure that this one is hinging at that point, and this one is hinged at a specific area. So once that is done, I would like now to have the titles. So I'm going to annotate. And I remember there is this gentleman has created a dimension style or annotation, yes, and dimension style that is called harnessed. So I'm going to use that text probably if I can be able to find it. I believe it's the standard. I don't know whether he doesn't have a text style. So I'm going to use the text here, and then I'm going to have it at this point, and then I'm going to call this engineer's notes. Engineer's notes. Once I do that, I can minimize the size for this section. This one should be engineer's notes or site notes. This also depends on how you want to name it. We can see the size here is very, very, very small, or even our margins are bigger. So we can get to move these a little bit, probably to this side. And we can also even reduce the size of our text. Remember, the goal is to have it as maximum. The other point is the text expected here is always 2.5 mm, 2.5 millimeters. Font size is always like the standard type of text that we are expecting to have in most of the design work that you have. So when your text height is primarily 2.5, it's fairly good enough for you to do your presentations very, very, very well. It will display well. So this means also we can be able to narrow down our title block. Remember, you can select these if you want to underline it. You can be able to underline it. And also, if you want to change the colors, you can be able to change it. So those are my engineer's note. The other point would be demarcating this section. So for example, you can decide, for example, to just have your random line here. It's a matter of what dimensions you choose. Most people will say, I want this spacing to be 10 meters, 10 centimeters. Others will say, I want it at 15 mm. Different people will choose different sizes. There are, of course, standard sizes that you can be able to look around for the title blocks. But I think having us, we can be able to have an offset of, from this point, we can have an offset of 20. So let's say offset, we wanted to have 20 in this case. So that's it. In other case, we can have another 20, we can have another 20. So this is like 100. We can say now this is a section for notes. If this is the section for notes, we can be able to have it there. Remember, you can go to having a bullet or numbered, and this one, all dimensions are in millimeters unless otherwise specified. Remember, this is a section where you include all the instructions that you want to give to your project team or the implementation team. Remember also the text height needs to be 2.5 for this case. 2.5 is the standard dimension that we want to have for our section, and then you have it right there. So at least everything is for me. This is for your notes. We can go back to this section and see what else do we need. So you can see the section for engineers notes, it's quite big. After that, now we can have a section for projection system and then the other section for legend. Let's go to that right away. We can project offset these. We can get offset, and then we want to make it 100 that way, and then we make it 100, and then we make it 100 for that point. So in this case, we just need to copy the title, and then once we copy it, we can be able to lower it to this point, to this point, and then to this point, and then to this point. Great. For this area, we can just delete this one so that we have a bigger section for engineers' notes. They take the bigger section. And in this area, we call it projection system. So remember, in the projection system, we used ARC 1960. So we can copy that one to this area. So in this area, you want to say what is the coordinate system. So you can say UTM, whatever, coordinate system, and then you want to show the datum, you want to show the level of accuracy, you want to show the zone, you want to show all of that information is needed here. So you can just text on Google and see what details do you need to have in a project and a projection system. For example, you can also use my template here. For example, you need to show the GCS. This is, of course, ARC 1960. You need to do the authority, the angle unit for this one. The meridian is the datum. All of this, I'm going to share you with this information so that you can be able to get the projection system details that you need. After that, we are going to go to the legend straight away. And this is now where you have the legend. And then you're done with that section. And then this is where also most people will want to have, for example, the project details or project details. And when you are talking about project details, we can talk about the location, the jurisdiction, and all of those small details. For example, the county, the zone, and also the addresses of the consultant and all of that. So for example, we have the project details. In this zone, we can do an offset 100, and then, okay, this means we can do 50. Yes, 100 is fairly good. So we can say project details. So for example, we can say we want to include, let me say here, so we say location, address, and all of that. So we can say project address. So this one, you can populate it there. And then after that, you can have, for example, this one will be project, project what? Yes, you can have project, or even you can have the project team at this point. So this varies with according to your preference, what you want to include in this section. So for me, I prefer having the legend only, and then it fills every detail here. Because now at the bottom here, I am going to fit in the other information that I want to include. So we are going to these other title block that I have, and you can see in the first thing is mostly the first option here is always the client. You will always have the client here. And in the client, for example, this could be whoever you're working for. If you're working for the government, then you can see this is, for example, Kenya National Highways Authority, or whoever that you want to have. The next one will be the consultant. Remember, there are people who also prefer having the consultant and all of that information on this other side, which is perfectly fine. The title blocks is sometimes according to the template of your company. How do you want to present your work? And what details do you want to show in the project? Other projects will come with specifications. This is how we want our design to be projected. So it's important for you to have that flexibility. So let us just copy paste what is here. And this is the beauty of having other sample projects. You will find that different projects will have different presentations for their work. So just pick whatever that you prefer and that you think works with you. For this case, we are going to adopt everything as it is here. So for example, let's go to this box. We can be able to say, let's first be able to know what is the distance from this point all the way to this other point. And this one is giving us 835 mm. So we can be able to divide this into 8. How many sections do we need? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. So we can be able to do 100, 100, 100, and then we are going to split the other sections equally. So we come to home. We can be able to explode this section so that we'll be able to offset, and then we do an offset of 100, press enter, and then we can do 100 for that section, and then 100 up to that point. So we're going to copy this very same header here, copy it, come down with it here, and then I cannot see where it has gone. Let me just copy it, copy, and I end that on. So I'm going to, this one is, it's at the top here because other mode is on. So I'm just going to copy it from this point. And I'm going to paste it here, and then paste it here. Super. So in this case, we can be able to say, this is the client details. And in the client details now, we can say copy. And then, for example, in the name, in the client details, there is always a higher probability of having the logo and the name of that employer. So we can say offset, and then we want to offset this by 50 from this point. Okay, 50 is too much. Let's offset, and we can be able to do 25. Mm, mm, mm. So that's it. Delete this point, and in this area, you can be able to have the text there. And then, for example, we can say Kenya National Highways Authority, then P.O. Box 200, Nairobi, Kenya. Whatever that information is, I can select all. I don't need to underline this one, but I want it to be in bold, and then that is going to fit in right there. So this is good right there, and we have it. Remember, if you have a logo for this one, remember you don't need to have the spacing there. If you have a logo for this one, you can just go to insert, and once you go to, okay, the insert, where is insert? Insert here. And then once we go to insert, you can be able to attach an image directly. You can be able to attach an image. Remember, it's asking you to paste the path. And this is always the problem, because now you need to go to where your file is and then paste it. But then you can use the other method of just going, for example, let me just pick a random image. I don't know whether I have my logo. Let's go to, for example, just let me just pick this one. I can be able to actually copy, and then once I copy that, I can come directly with it here, and then Control V, that is paste, and then it's gonna ask me, sorry, let me just Control V. I don't know whether I have it. Didn't picture that. So I can just copy this one, and then I'll come and paste. It's asking me to specify the insertion point, and it's asking me the scale factor. So I can just use 1 for now, and then rotation angle is 0, and then that's it. So I have it right here. So you'll notice that when you insert the image, it can be very small, it can be very small, and you want to resize it to fit the section. So you just need to select it and then use SC for scale, press enter. You'll select the corner that you think is the midpoint, and then you can be able to expand it to whatever. So once that's on, you can be able to move, just type move, and then you're going to fit in specifically for your section here. Remember, now these images, you can just download them from anywhere on the web for your employer. Then after that, this one is always the consultant. You can be able to have them. So you just need to copy this section again, copy, and then you're going to have it here. We have seen this 50-50 is working for us, so we can offset these to 50. Yeah, it's dividing it fairly good. And then you can also have the image as well for the section right there. Just copy this one. I'm going to just show that here. And then after that, we have the contractor. Most actions will have the contractor right there again. And then also you can be able to copy these. Oh, sorry, before we copy, let's do the offset for 50, and then for 50 right there. Okay. we get to have that, and we can be able to copy this into that, and then also copy this from here to this other point. Okay. So we have the contractor, the employer. This one, be creative. Just use, if you have a company, if you have any information that you would want to display in this area, you can be able to display it as well. But also it's important to ensure there is alignment between this, between this text that we used here. It's very good, just like there is alignment on this other side. Remember also you can decide to, it's good also you offset this one up to this other area so that there is a good, you know, section right there across the area. So you have the contractor, you have all of that, and then that's super. We can decide we don't want the midpoint that is displaying the logo to be crossing over to this other end. So we don't want that. We don't want that. And we don't want this one to be there. So everything looks well organized now. And then after that, we have the project team. So you can see, for example, in this case, there is the project team here. That is the project team and all of that. This is mostly under the consultant, if there is need for it. But sometimes I don't really find the need for it. This one is mostly when you're sending to the other client and you want to identify names. But most importantly is this section where it is for submissions, revisions, checked by, designed by, and all of that. So this is the section that you can be able to include the specific names of people and then the project name right here. So we're going to this other point. This one is I can just get to use a rectangle here, and I want it to be, let me choose the dimensions. I want it to be 100, and then the wing is, oh, sorry, I didn't get the wind right. But I can always push it back up to this specific point. I'm going to explode it. And this one, I can be able to do an offset of 10 for this side, and then an offset of 10 for this other side. Then after that, you can see I have a text that is calling itself revisions. So these are the number of revisions that we need for this area. So I can have the text there and then get to rotate it. This is the revisions. Oh, sorry. So these are the revisions that we need. This one, we divide it into smaller sections. We can use 7.5 for this one, this one, this one. And then after that, we do an offset. Again, this one is for 50. This one is going to go all the way there. So we have checked by, revised by. So if you go back to the template here, we have the submission, the description, designed and checked by. Description, so there's date, description, designed by, and checked by. So there should be 3. And you can be able to actually, let's delete that. We do offset. And this one, we can make it 20 for the date. And then we do offset for description. We make it 30. And then we Yes, and then check by, designed by offset. Yes. So with that one, we just use this text here quickly. One. I know we don't have a lot of time, so let me finish this very quickly. One, two, this one. So this is for date, escape. This one is for description, escape. This is designed by, escape, and then this is checked by, escape. And then what needs to be done is actually trimming of these edges right here. So trim, we don't want to have, oh, sorry. We don't want to have this. We don't want to have this. And then we don't have to, so we can be able to delete this. Trim. We have that. And we don't want to have that. So this text here will be Control A. I don't want this to be underlined. I don't want this one to be underlined, and that's it. So at least we have our entire title block set all there. So the only size will be the size of paper and the signature and sheet code on this other side. Remember, this one you can be able to customize it according to your preference. This allows you to do things with your own way and show the information that you want to display in this area. People will tell you there's a standard, there's a standard, but ideally it's up to you to decide what exactly you want to display in your design and the information that matters to you. So once you're done with all of this, so we are going to select everything. So that is after you have done your customization, your modifications, and all of these data. And then after that, you can go to home, you can go to insert, and then you want to create a block. So you can be able to create. And once it comes to create, you will call it title block, title block. Block, and then you can, the base point you can be able to specify on screen. The objects, they are already the ones that are selected, but if you want to select on the screen, you can be able to there, and then it's going to convert everything to a block, and then you're going to allow exploding. That is in case you want to modify later on, and then you can be able to press OK. So the baseline for this one, I always prefer using the bottom edge, this point. So let me activate this. I can always use that one to be my my baseline. So you will notice that, for example, if I go to, let me go to insert. Sorry. Let me see whether it has been able to, let me see. It has not. Oh, yes, it is right. Oh, no, this is the TMD one. So I think it has not accepted this as a type, as a block. Let me see whether that's the case. So I'm going to repeat the same. Insert, create block. I don't know whether it accepted. It didn't pick, huh? So I'm going to call it title block. And then, yes, for example, the objects, I can say, if I don't want to specify, I can be able to specify them now. Yes, I can be able to specify now. Press enter. These are the objects. And then if I want to have a description, so I can say harnessed TT, and then I press OK. And then I say the base point is actually at the middle. And you can see it has populated here. So, and this one is now a block that we can be able to use. So even if we go, for example, to a new layout, and for example, we want to insert a title block, we can always be able to insert this one right here. Let's say insert, and you can see it has been inserted already, and according to the size of the paper. So this one, the paper here is very small, but this is for the A1 and it's super big. Kindly remember that you can always modify the paper size to according to the size that you have. So thank you very much for your attention. I don't want to waste your day. It's already 9 minutes here. Thank you very much for your time. Just customize it. There's nothing big deal. You don't have to follow a lot of, most people overthink about what do they say, what do they see, what do I see. Just design the title block according to your preference. The only most important thing is to make sure that you set the paper size. If you set the paper size to A3, that is the standard sizes of the paper, at least when you go to print your work, it will be able to fit in very, very well. So the only thing that is left here is now to insert for example, the viewport. So you can just remember we said insert the view, and we want to insert this one right here. Okay. And then just press enter, and then we'll put it right here in our design, and then we can modify the viewport to get all the way to, let me remove this one. It can get all the way to the edges, and then it can get all the way to the edges of our design. And then after that, we can right click inside here. Let me escape and remove these. We can select the viewport, unlock it, set the scale to 1:1000. That was the scale. And then right click and then region. Okay, and you can see now the design is fitting in. So I will show you how you can be able to show different sections. So we can be able to show this section here. We can do another section here, and we show another section in tomorrow's session. So thank you very much. Please make sure you design your own title block. Use your own taste and preference. Look around for other samples and see what you can come up with. So thank you very much. Wishing you a fantastic day. Always take care of yourself and have a fruitful day ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.